Chatty Kitty was no ordinary cat. She was the queen of Catland. She had a tiny crown. It was on her head. She ruled with a meow and a purr. She loved to have fun. One sunny day, Chatty Kitty woke up. She yawned, she stretched. She was ready for adventure. She meowed loudly. "What fun will we have today?" she asked. Her tail twitched. Her whiskers wiggled. Something caught her eye. It was a tiny red dot. Chatty Kitty was curious. She had to catch it. The red dot danced on the wall. "Gotcha!" Chatty Kitty pounced. She missed. The red dot zipped away. Chatty Kitty chased it. She chased it up the curtains. "Meow!" she cried. She was determined to catch it. The red dot zoomed across the floor. Chatty Kitty skidded to a halt. She spun in circles. She was dizzy. The red dot disappeared. Chatty Kitty flopped to the ground. She was tired but happy. The red dot was a worthy opponent, but Chatty Kitty would be back. Suddenly there was a whirring sound. It was the Roomba. It zoomed across the floor. Chatty Kitty's eyes widened. This was a new challenge. She crouched low to the ground. She watched the Roomba. It moved back and forth. It was cleaning the floor. But to Chatty Kitty, it was a rival. Chatty Kitty pounced. She landed on top of the Roomba. "Meow," she declared. She was the queen of the Roomba. She rode it around the room. It was a bumpy ride. Chatty Kitty hopped off the Roomba. She sniffed the air. What was that smell? It was something new, something exciting. Her whiskers twitched with curiosity as she tried to pinpoint the source of the intriguing aroma. It smelled minty and delicious. She followed her nose, weaving through the living room, past the couch and around the coffee table. The scent grew stronger with each step, pulling her closer to its source. It led her to a small green toy mouse. The mouse was nestled in a corner, almost hidden from view. Chatty Kitty's eyes widened with excitement as she approached the toy, her tail flicking back and forth. Chatty Kitty batted at the toy. It skittered across the floor and she pounced after it, her paws moving with lightning speed. The toy mouse was no match for her playful energy. It smelled even stronger now. The minty aroma was intoxicating. She sniffed it closely, her nose almost touching the toy. The scent was irresistible and she couldn't get enough of it. She rubbed her face on it, marking it with her scent. This toy was hers now, and she wanted everyone to know it. She nuzzled it affectionately, purring with contentment. She rolled around on the floor, her body wriggling with joy. The catnip had taken hold, and she was lost in a world of bliss. She kicked her legs in the air, reveling in the euphoria. She was in catnip heaven. Her eyes were half closed in pure delight, and her purring was louder than ever. Every fiber of her being was relaxed and happy. "Meow, meow, meow," she sang. She was so happy. Everything was funny. The world seemed brighter and every little thing amused her. She couldn't stop vocalizing her joy. The world was a giant catnip toy. She batted at shadows, imagining them as tiny creatures to be caught. She chased her tail, spinning in circles. Catnip was the best. It turned her ordinary day into an extraordinary adventure filled with laughter and play. After her catnip adventure, Chatty Kitty saw a box. It was a big box. It was on the floor. Chatty Kitty loved boxes. She jumped inside. She curled up. It was cozy. But then the unthinkable happened. Someone closed the flaps. Chatty Kitty was trapped. "Meow," she cried. She had to escape. She pushed on the walls of the box. She scratched at the flaps. Finally, with a mighty shove, she broke free. "Meow," she shouted triumphantly. She would never be contained by a box again. Chatty Kitty's tummy rumbled. It was time for a snack. She padded into the kitchen. She looked around. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Meow?" she questioned. Where was her tuna? She always had tuna for a snack. She sniffed the air. She checked her bowl. No tuna. Chatty Kitty was a detective. She would find the missing tuna. She followed her nose. It led her to the pantry. She peeked inside. There it was, a can of tuna. Welcome to the world of Chatty Kitty, where every day is an adventure filled with curiosity and mischief. Today, Chatty Kitty has her eyes set on a delicious prize, but the tuna was high up, on a shelf. It wasn't just any shelf, it was the highest shelf in the kitchen. The can of tuna glistened under the kitchen light, almost taunting her with its inaccessibility. Chatty Kitty stood on her hind legs. She reached up. She couldn't reach it. She needed a plan. Her little paws stretched as far as they could go, but the shelf was just out of reach. She pondered for a moment, her eyes darting around the room looking for a solution. She noticed a chair. It was next to the pantry. She could use it. The chair was sturdy and just the right height. She could almost see the gears turning in her head as she calculated her next move. She jumped onto the chair. With a graceful leap, she landed perfectly. The chair wobbled slightly, but Chatty Kitty held her balance. She was one step closer to her goal. Then she leapt for the shelf. Her muscles tensed as she prepared for the jump. With a burst of energy, she propelled herself upwards, her eyes locked on the can of tuna. She grabbed the can of tuna with her teeth. She did it! Chatty Kitty jumped down. The can was heavier than she expected, but she held on tight. She landed softly on the floor, her prize clutched firmly in her mouth. She knocked the can of tuna off the chair. Clang, it went. The sound echoed through the kitchen, startling her for a moment, but she quickly recovered, her eyes still gleaming with determination. She looked at her human. "Meow?" she asked innocently. Her eyes were wide and her tail flicked back and forth. She hoped her human would understand her efforts and maybe even open the can for her. Her human just shook their head and laughed. They couldn't help but be amused by Chatty Kitty's antics. With a smile, they reached down to pick up the can, ready to reward her for her cleverness and determination. Full of tuna, Chatty Kitty explored. She had just finished a delicious meal and was feeling adventurous. The room was filled with interesting smells and objects, and Chatty Kitty was determined to investigate every corner. She came to a hallway. It was a long, narrow passage she had never ventured into before. The walls were lined with pictures and the floor was covered in a soft, plush carpet that felt nice under her paws. There was a big, shiny thing on the wall. It caught her eye immediately. The surface was smooth and reflective, unlike anything she had seen before. She approached it cautiously, her curiosity piqued. She had never seen it before. It was a mirror. Chatty Kitty was fascinated by the way it seemed to create another world right in front of her. She moved closer to get a better look. Chatty Kitty saw a cat in the mirror. At first she was startled. Who was this other cat? Why was it in her house? She took a step back, unsure of what to make of this new discovery. The cat looked just like her. "Meow?" she asked, confused. The other cat mimicked her exactly, moving its mouth in the same way. Chatty Kitty was puzzled, but also intrigued. The cat in the mirror tilted its head. Chatty Kitty did the same, and the mirror cat followed suit. It was like playing a game with a perfect partner who mirrored her every move. Chatty Kitty tilted her head. She raised a paw. The mirror cat raised a paw too. It was as if they were communicating in a secret language only they understood. The mirror cat raised a paw. Chatty Kitty was delighted. She had never experienced anything like this before. It was both strange and wonderful. Chatty Kitty wiggled her whiskers. The mirror cat did the same. It was like looking into a magical world where everything she did was perfectly echoed. The mirror cat did the same. Chatty Kitty was amazed. She spent several minutes just watching and mimicking, completely absorbed in this new and fascinating experience. She had a new friend. Chatty Kitty felt a sense of companionship she had never felt before. Even though the mirror cat was just a reflection, it felt real to her. She purred contentedly, happy to have found such an intriguing playmate. Chatty Kitty batted at the mirror. The cat in the mirror did the same. But then, something even more interesting happened. The red dot was back. It danced across the mirror. Chatty Kitty forgot all about the other cat. She had to catch the red dot. She jumped and swatted, but the dot was always one paw ahead. Finally, the red dot disappeared. Chatty Kitty was worn out. She had chased the red dot all over the house. It was the best day ever. All that playing was hard work. She went back to her favorite spot. It was a soft, comfy bed. She curled up on the bed. She closed her eyes. She purred softly. She was the queen of Catland, and it was good to be the queen. "Good night, Chatty Kitty," her human whispered. Chatty Kitty purred again. She dreamed of red dots, catnip mice, and tuna snacks. It was going to be another perfect day tomorrow.